Africa, we can speak to Xavier Abu Eid, the political scientist, a former communications advisor to the Palestine Liberation Organization. Xavier, thank you so much for joining us. The British statement does contain quite a few caveats or conditions that the British would need to see satisfied before it recognizes a Palestinian state. And one of those is that Hamas should not govern Gaza in the future. Does it look to you as if it's as strong as the French statement regarding recognition, or more of a threat to Israel rather than a backing of Palestine?
Thank you, Adnan, for having me here. I would have expected a British Prime Minister to start any announcement on recognition of Palestinian statehood with a note of an apology to the Palestinian people. We should not remember the historical responsibility that the United Kingdom has on the catastrophe that has been going on in Palestine, particularly since the Balfour Declaration. And while recognition of the state of Palestine, it's important, it's a mandatory step for anyone who believes in a political process and the internationally recognized two-state solution. And it's really appalling is that even at the highest point of this ongoing genocide, you find Western powers, Western countries that are still trying to allow Israel to gain time. They are buying time for Israel. And on top of that, they are setting a number of conditions on Palestinian statehood beyond what you just mentioned, Adnan. I think it's important to say it clearly that the right to statehood is a non-negotiable right for the Palestinian people. And then, of course, there are things that are up to negotiations in terms of implementation. But what kind of a state is the UK recognizing if, for example, they are not even willing to talk about the 1967 borders, including East Jerusalem? And most importantly, Adnan, I think it's a fact that you cannot be trading a political right for the implementation of the international humanitarian law obligations by the occupying power, in this case, the State of Israel.
Some really, really interesting points there, Xavier. It didn't even occur to me about the Balfour Declaration. As soon as you started talking, I realized exactly where you were going. Do you think that Palestinians are actually quite skeptical about some European nations and their positions? Germany says it's doing its utmost to try to make sure there's a ceasefire in Gaza, while it remains one of the biggest suppliers of arms to Israel.
But let's say it clear, Germany is complicit in this genocide. Germany has been opposing any kind of concrete measures to stop the genocide, and even on other aspects that in theory are a part of Germany's position. For example, Germany opposes Israeli occupation, opposes Israeli settlements, yet they've been blocking every single step that has been discussed at the European Union level to hold any sort of accountability on the Israeli occupation. The latest was yesterday, when there were some discussions at the European Commission level with regards to suspending Israel's participation in a part of the Horizon program between Israel and the European Union. And Germany, alongside Italy, and if I'm not mistaken, also Hungary and Greece, they all oppose taking those kind of actions. So again, I think we should not separate things from the context that we're going through. It's recognizing Palestine, it's important. Yes, it's very important. But it's not the maximum that those countries should be taking. And if the state of Israel is going to continue committing a genocide, you don't stop it simply by recognizing Palestine. Recognition of Palestine should have been granted decades ago, years ago. It's not how you respond to a genocide. To a genocide, you respond with sanctions, and you respond with a concrete position that that business will not be as usual as far as Israel continues doing what they are doing.
When we talk about Western intervention, we obviously have to mention the United States. Xavier, do you believe President Donald Trump when he says he has already spoken to some countries in the region who are prepared to take Palestinians as permanent residents of their own countries because of this idea that Trump and Netanyahu have of having a Palestinian territory, whether they want to call it a state or not, a Palestinian territory without Palestinians?
I think, Adnan, it's important to separate this statement to two. Did the U.S. administration and some people working for them contact countries within the region and beyond? Yes, of course they did. Did they succeed? No, they didn't. They utterly failed, and that's something that it's known. President Trump may want to continue repeating some recycled talking points on this matter, trying to show that his ideas did not fail, but they have miserably failed so far. First of all, because the Palestinian people rejects the ethnic cleansing plans, but also because the international community understands what the consequences would be, what the precedents would be set for not just in Palestine but also elsewhere. You cannot be normalizing ethnic cleansing as part of a solution. Ethnic cleansing is a war crime, and you cannot be normalizing this as a matter of fact. Now, I think the U.S. administration continues to talk as if they were not part of what's going on. There is a genocide being conducted mainly with U.S. weapons, and the U.S. has the power to stop this genocide. And so far, they have not been willing to do that. So I think it's important to also set the U.S. responsibility in context without this taking the responsibility out of other countries, particularly European countries that so far have been complicit with the genocide. And now seems that after 60,000 people have been killed, including almost 20,000 children, they are trying to move into some direction, and they have chosen a statehood recognition, which once again, I don't want to be negative about this. I think recognizing Palestine, it's an important step, it's a positive step, but it's not what's expected in the context of this genocide.
Xavier, as always, thank you so much. Xavier Abu Eid.
Thank you, Adrian.